Hey, my name's Alex, and I'm going to be talking about what my first paid acting gig was like. And I'll go briefly into how I actually got the acting job, but I'll leave that for another video. So, basically, my first paid acting job was through this website called Star Now. It's basically like Facebook for acting. So, you make a profile, put your details on there, and like have a portfolio, and you can apply for jobs. So I sent out an application. This was probably like 2, 3 years ago. And I had a call back saying, hey, would love to have you this weekend. Do you have like a few hours free on a Saturday? I was like, hell yeah, holy shit. I was actually so freaking ecstatic because obviously, I think this might have even been, it wasn't my first acting job, but yeah, first paid one. And it was the role of an extra. And it was for a feature film in Australia based at the Gold Coast. I'm based in Brisbane, so pretty close by, and it was pretty good all up, I would say. So I arrived there, and I wasn't exactly sure what my role was. I just know that it was quite minimal, and like as an extra, basically behind the main cast. And so I knew I was supposed to be a mourner. I think they did tell me that before I got there. So because it was my first paid acting gig, I was pretty nervous of if I could actually act on demand, essentially. Even though I had done some small stuff before, I was still like, I don't know, pretty nervous about that. And especially if they were like, oh, we want you to cry or something. So I'm not particularly a method actor, but I thought, you know what, I better get in a similar headspace of if I need to cry. So I set up a playlist, and the Gold Coast is about an hour away from me. And so I listened to really sad songs for basically an hour until I arrived there. And I'd kind of misjudged the timing a bit too. So I arrived basically like maybe 5 minutes before I was asked to show up. And I was like getting lost and stuff because it was actually at a cemetery, but the parking was nearby because you couldn't park at the cemetery. And I learnt from that I'd just arrive way earlier. But so I got onto set. Basically, they had two trailers, and one was like it had a portaloo or something attached to it, and it was for costume, and then the other trailer was for makeup or like hair and makeup. And it started off. I met a couple of the extras, and they said hey, and they had like a little buffet breakfast kind of thing, like just someone cooked up on a barbecue, which was great. And I had to bring basically some costume stuff. I don't think they gave me much of a guideline, but they said like something that is not super current in terms of like an outfit that you could also wear to a funeral. So I took basically like some blazer jackets that I had and some button-up shirts and stuff. And I think I ended up using maybe actually none of that. I just used the pants, and they supplied me with a different blazer and a shirt and a tie from memory. And so after I talked with the extras for maybe the other extras for like, I don't know, 20 minutes to half an hour, they said, all right, let's move on to set. And before we do that, we'll give you your hair and makeup quickly. So I went into the hair and makeup trailer, which was really nice. Like I didn't expect any of this for like a job off Star Now, basically. And they said, we'll give you, yeah, it was basically just like a touch up, essentially. Like they did I think mostly they colored in my eyebrows. They slicked my hair back, and they put sort of some like foundation on to even my skin tone, which is pretty common and standard for filming. And so when I was doing that, I didn't realize at the time, especially because it was outdoors, and something I'd probably do next time is put on maybe like a base level of like matte sunscreen, because I got hella burnt in the first hour, and I'll get into that in a second. So they did hair and makeup, which was great, and I talked some more with some of the actors in the trailer there. So it was actually really good for just networking and being amongst everything and getting into it. And so after I did hair and makeup, they took me into the costume trailer, and I got changed. We did found the blazer and the shirt, and then we moved on to set. And on set, there was probably a crew of, I'd say, 10 people there, including the director and the assistant and those kinds of people. And I think they actually had a stunt coordinator because it was a war film. It's like a war film Australian documentary type, and this was just one day of filming that I was doing. And it actually paid relatively well for me at the time, which I was also surprised about. I think it was $30 to $35 Australian, and that was for 3 or 4 hours of filming. And so on set, there was the main cast, and then there was 3 of us extras, and one of them got to be a soldier, because it was a funeral for a deceased soldier in the film. And me and this other lady, who was probably slightly older than me, was supposed to be a couple, and we were obviously relatives of the soldier. So what happened was, it started out with quite a bit of sitting around, which is pretty standard for a set, especially as an extra. They're trying to film the main scene, and they'll basically just put you in where they think they need you. So for maybe the first hour, I was just sort of sitting around, talking with some of the cast and crew. And that is basically how I got really sunburnt, where I should have had sunscreen on underneath. But after that, I think the stunt coordinator realized that. And because there was no stunts, he wasn't doing a lot. So he got some umbrellas and was like holding them up for us, which was super lovely. And yeah, didn't expect that. And for the actual filming of this scene, so we did, I think, 3 scenes, and I was in 2 of them. And we did quite a few takes. It was probably maybe 5 to 10 takes for each scene, which was probably... Each scene would have only been maybe 5 minutes or so. So it does add up a lot into a lot of time, and they have to reset everything, and they had some drone shots. And basically my job was to be behind... There was like the main lady and main guy, and then I was behind them with my wife or girlfriend, and we were watching them, and it was really interesting to actually watch the main cast do their thing, because the girl, she had to cry on demand, and so between takes she would kind of curl up into a ball next, sort of hidden from the camera, and just like rock for a while until she, I guess, felt really sad, which was really interesting to watch. And then so my job was to almost cry. I say almost because something I remember an actor saying in an interview was that unless it's required for you in the script that you must cry and there must be like tears in the scene, they recommended that you almost cry, because then it gives the audience, and this sounds a bit weird, it gives the audience something to hope for, that they're like, oh my God, are they going to cry? Are they? So basically I was on the verge of tears for like 3 hours for this filming. And each scene would be that she would, each take for this scene would be that she would put a flower on the grave, and then my girlfriend and I would walk behind this scene while they continued. So we'd just be in the background for a lot of it, just walking away, which is pretty standard for an extra role. And I did have a line that I said, but it wasn't actually... It was more ad-libbed, like they just said like say something and go away, basically. And I think I can't even remember what I said, like maybe it was like let's go. But if they had recorded me saying that, then I would have actually been paid more as a speaking extra. Whereas I think what they did was like you could just see the movement on my mouth and then would walk away. So also saving them a bit of money, which is understandable. Like it wasn't originally agreed upon. And so, yeah, that was basically it. We did that, and then we sat down for a while. We did another scene, which was us standing in the background again while they talked for a bit. And that was my 3 to 4 hours. And they'd actually set up like a shade cloth to soften the light. They had a few big cameras, and they had the director there who had his sort of headphones on and some notes, and an assistant. They also had a couple of drone shots where we had to repeat what we did the exact same way. So all of it was a really good experience, really. The only probably shame is that, and this is pretty standard for an extra, is that I have no idea what happened to that film. And I can't even remember what it was called. No one has told me about it. I think when I found it maybe a year and a half ago, I'd seen that it was still in post-production, which is another year and a half after we filmed it. But I do think we were filming, for their sort of filming schedule, I think we were early on, so they did have quite a bit to film. And there were a couple of people, I think, from Neighbours in it, And I think actually one lady on the day was from Neighbours or Home and Away, but I, as like a smaller role on the show, and I didn't recognize her, but she did look familiar. And that was it. And then I went home after that and got my pay a couple weeks later. And it was all around a really great experience and something I'd definitely recommend to you getting started, even just as an extra. Some people actually do that full time because if you get enough extra roles and you get familiar with different casting directors and stuff, they'll keep calling you back to fill these small roles in the background. And it did actually pay all right, so it was pretty good. And yeah, it was just an all-around great experience, that one. I'm sure some people have not great experiences starting out. I think I got pretty lucky as that as my first paid acting gig, and just a great way to start and get in the scene. So anyway, thanks for listening. Like if you liked and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.